Welcome back to Super Sentai Review, episode number 47. Yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks since I did review this series. Well, there was a reason for it, and that was because I was busy last week, so I did not get a chance to do any Super Sentai review. Excuse me. Now I get a chance to do Super Sentai review. So, excuse me. This episode, I'm covering episodes 16 to 19. And you're thinking, 4 episodes? Usually you cover 3. Well, there's a couple reasons why for that. Because one thing I've noticed, though, for these particular series, it doesn't seem like there's a lot happening in a lot of these episodes. So I just increased it to 4, also to speed along quicker. Now, I should note about the monsters for this one. There are 4 monsters. You have Semilar, who appears in episode 16. He's monster 15. Okay. You have Dead Bowler, who's monster 16, but appears in 17. But then it becomes really weird. Where in episode 18 we have Kalager, who was monster 19. Yes, 19 in episode 18. And I thought, wait, did they skip monster? Well, that 18 monster doesn't show up until episode 20. Monster 17 shows up in episode 17. Now, what's the plan of these particular monsters? Well, what's the plan here? Well, in the case of episode 16, it's all about spreading a bacteria over this particular area. It was Akira, I think his name is. The name of the area is in Japan, where apparently it's supposed to kill 9 million people. And the Denziman fight, of course, the shark monster in order to stop this particular thing. And of course, Queen Headler wants to stop them from doing their plan to commit an actual massacre. So this is not involving, let's say, sword, like stabbing or even gunshot wounds. It's a virus. How this thing starts is quite interesting, where we have a guy who's riding a taxi who's basically suffering a lot of pain, and just by sheer coincidence, one of the police officers who actually are recurring characters in this particular series, yes, who appear a lot of the time per se. Yeah. Well, they appear a lot of the time, and yeah, it's the characters of Officer Chico and Officer Tamako. Yeah, they're here, and they notice the guy is like convulsing, and then the guy has some final words. It says, "Find the food generator, and 9 million people will die." And the whole episode, the whole team is searching for this particular thing that he talks about. Is it a person? No, it's a boat. And the reason why the boat, because that is apparently where they made the virus. And the shark monster is sent out to basically try to stop them. I'm like, okay. And of course, they eventually do stop it, and the virus eventually stops. Of course, they also end up also helping out a scientist who knew the guy who died at the start of the episode. Where it turns out his son is actually in the hospital, and the kid he's with is actually not the kid, but the main monster of the episode. Like, that's quite interesting. Usually the monsters don't usually transform into kids at all. Usually they try to blend in, usually pose as adults, but kids? They're unusual, but it's perfectly fine. Won't be the last time that they actually do the same thing in episode 19, where they use a similar plot that poses as a kid. No for different reason. And we even had the monster go giant size, and he also turns to a head, bites the Rangers, which is quite interesting. And eventually he's defeated in his regular size form. As a matter of fact, he's one of 2 defeated in regular size form. The other, of course, is the one that appears in episode 19. Now, in 17, it's all about baseball, because of course we gotta have baseball, because we gotta have baseball monsters thrown in here. Excuse me. Unlike, let's say, Jock would have had 2 baseball themed monsters, and I think that Battlefield J had 1, if I remember correctly. Yes, I think it was only 1. Oh, it's called Dead Bowler. Is there any other like baseball themed monsters aside from that one? The answer is no. There is no other baseball themed monsters throughout this entire season. Mm-hmm. Well, and most of the pictures I've seen looks like a couple of the monsters are just redesigns. Now, the monsters you see here, are they any of them like redesigns previous monsters? Not really per se. I mean, they look, let's say, similar. He actually is an original looking monster who's the shape of a shark. I mean, I know Battlefield J had a tendency to do this where occasionally the monsters redressed just similar looking attire with a slight redesign of the costume, just clean it's a different monster. But in the case of these four monsters, well, they're similar basically. By his design, he is not a redesign of a previous monster. Nope. But what about Deadboulder? No. What about Kingler? Not really. What about Gemmer? Is he a redesign of a previous monster? Nope. These monsters do not have the distinction of being redesigns of previous monsters. Well, not in this series, anyways. And the plan for this one is kill baseball players. Just because. Oh, yeah, because Queen Hilla doesn't like the way that we play baseball here, so. Oh, by the way, apparently the fadeaway baseball is hit all the batters in the baseball with a baseball bat. You do realize, though, that doesn't work. It does not help you play baseball. All that does is allow the player to do a walk. And, like, they do it 4 times. And easily the opposing team gets an automatic 1 run because the guy kept hitting the player with a baseball, like, constantly. And use this particular baseball to harm players. And they do take one of the baseballs he throws and do an examination of it. And the reason why he's able to hurt these players is, like, where it hurts them this badly is because there's a lead ball inside of it that is, for some reason, shaped like a tennis ball. I don't know why. Now, here's the thing. Tennis balls are pretty light. They do kind of hurt, but they don't seriously hurt. Baseballs do kind of hurt because of the material inside of it. Tennis balls are hollow. They've always been hollow. And they're very light. They're by far, out of all, like, let's just say, balls used in, let's say, sports, they're by far one of the lighter ones, and they're by far ones that don't really hurt very much. If you get hit by a tennis ball, it does kind of hurt, but it doesn't hurt that badly. Like a golf ball, yeah, that will hurt based on how much speed is put into the damn thing. And because there's material on it that would actually hurt you. But a tennis ball, not really, no. It actually will kind of hurt you, cause some pain, but not serious pain per se. Yeah, but the way it looks, this lead tennis ball looks like you just painted gray and they call it lead. Well, it's the early 80s. They couldn't exactly have much material there. And of course, their main goal is to get the home run king, who is a very popular guy. And if they came out, people lose their faith in baseball, which I'm sure there's other home run kings out there besides this one guy. I mean, heck, baseball here has got several probably big-time home run hitters, and yet they have one. And apparently, if this one decides to retire, like, apparently people lose their faith in baseball. That makes no freaking sense at all. I mean, yeah, one guy retires. Yeah, he made it popular, but he probably had to retire. Usually, players retire due to various reasons. Either an injury that prevents them from playing, either too old, or they simply just feel like retiring. But here's the thing. They usually other players waiting in the wings take their place in case they retire. I mean, it's not like it's the end of the world if one guy retires who's uber popular. He probably retired because he had to. Yep. So, we also have a minor subplot here of a little kid who really wants to see this player play it again because he put his brother in the hospital. Now, if this was the U.S., this kid was actually this guy's son instead of being his brother. It's kind of weird how they do stuff in Japan. So, he makes a deal with him. He wants him to take out apparently he's ordered to take out the Hilmar player, and he just teams up with him, and eventually, and here's the thing, his brother doesn't hate him for doing that, because in the case of Hilmar King, he actually regrets doing that, because of how much because they were childhood friends, and the fact they grew up to be best friends and rivals. I mean, yeah, they're rivals, but he never seriously do that on purpose. Even he knows that. He does not hold any regrets against them. There's no axe to grind. Of course, he thinks it is because it's his brother. And eventually, Israel thinks to help him walk. Israel, oh yeah, he got him a job as a sports journalist. Which, okay, that's perfectly fine. You know what also really cool, because he was a really damn good pitcher? Maybe he could be a pitching coach. That's possible. But sports journalist is still good enough. Yep. Yeah. So, eventually the boy goes, oh yeah, he's going to kill him here. Like, stop that hit. So, managed to do take him out, and that's it for that. Now, in the case of the third monster, one who's actually monster 19, this will appear in episode number 18. This guy is about bringing back sea people. Yep, turn people to fish monsters. Now, why the heck they said this? It just told me on the Megatrix. They just had, like, oh, let's see. Fish people, okay. It almost feels like, though, this planet feels completely random. Like, there's really no reason for this. Also, I should point out, this is the first time they used, like, doors. There are doors on the Vader Castle spaceship. And these doors open, here's the monster. I'm like, that's a very interesting way to show up with the monster. Instead of, oh, there's the monster just randomly there. At least they built it. And in fact, that his flute that he actually uses also was as a weapon, which, that's pretty cool. I gotta say, the monster's actually probably the best thing about the episode. The sea creature designs are okay. It's like, oh, let's have the feet and hands turn blue. Let's have a fin pop up their back and have their face covered in scales. Oh, and anybody know this, though? It's 4 guys. No women. Like, apparently, like, they probably thought, the writer of the thing probably, oh, they're probably going to say fish people who are frickin' women. I don't know the writer is sexist or not, but that's quite stupid. Oh, yeah, and the people who got turned to fish people. By the way, one of them was actually a childhood friend of Denziman Pink, who was very sickly, and in fact, he's not good at a lot of stuff, so he can hold them on much jobs. The other 3 are a coach, owner of a liquor store, and a police officer who just happens to know Tamako. I think she just has some respect for him. And he transforms. And by the way, there is zero, like, after he transforms, she's not seeing the rest of the episode. I mean, in the case of the last episode, did Tamako pop up in that one? No. Tamako and just go? No, they never did. And you're thinking, really? With a baseball player thing? Nope, they never did it. They actually skipped an episode, which is quite odd, to say the least. I think it was also the first time they actually skipped an episode. Yeah, I believe it's the, like I said, first time they actually had the character. I think this is the first episode they skipped. That I can think of. Also, the character Santa does not appear in episode 17-18. He actually skips a couple episodes, but he's here for pretty much a lot of the rest of this. Yep. Yeah. So he invites the guy who's a childhood friend that's make friends on a date, and he thinks as though he probably couldn't date her, but I mean, she was probably willing to date the guy, probably because she liked him. Doesn't go anywhere, and of course he turns over to sea person. And what do these creatures? What do they do? Is turn to sea people? Let's see. They attack the Rangers for no reason, and I'm thinking though, like, they apparently revealed that the sea people wiped out thanks to pollution, which possibly an anti-pollution message episode, which people don't like these, but it's quite obvious. Nowadays, pollution is not really big of an issue. It's still an issue, but not as big as it used to be. Because pollution in the last, 20 years have actually gotten, the environment has gotten a lot better in the last 20 years because people took time to clean up the environment. But it's not as bad as it used to be. No. There is still pollution, and it's still an issue, but not big of an issue like it used to be. And it's not a big topic people talking much anymore. Right now, what's the biggest topic in news? Immigration. Which I was about immigration, especially what happened at the border right now. But I'm not going to go into that right now because what's happening over at the border is utter nonsense. But back to this. Stay there, please. Stay there. Thank you. Excuse me. Oh yeah, and the 3 people who were transformed, these are 3 like nothing characters, and they're killed instantly by being exposed to radiation. And their plan was to attack a power plant, and they die. I'm like, wow, what a waste of time. Those 3 were transformed into monsters. And the other one didn't want to fight them. Apparently he still remembers everything despite having turned into a fish monster. Okay, this is not actually explained. Well, the other 3 turned to monsters where they didn't retain any of their previous personality. Here, this guy managed to retain it, probably because he's just a one-shot character. He also he wanted to go to the southeastern sea for some reason because it's so beautiful there. And eventually, of course, monster's defeated. And it looks like though that Denziman looks like he's back to normal, despite the fact that he's swimming. And yeah, this I thought was really weird on a part of production point of view. Like, you have this character turn into a monster, and you don't have him retain the appearance even after he's transferred back normal. Oh, and here's something interesting though about episode 18. Time Pink from Time Ranger, who appears in like that one. Yeah, she was born the day this episode aired. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Which that is really cool. The fact that in episode 18 of Denziman, and we have the birth of future Super Sentai actor, which I think that's awesome. As far as I know, I don't know if this has ever happened ever again, but yeah. So, in the case, the final episode of the season, the final episode of this batch, Princess Stars, and the whole thing about the Frog Prince thing, and of course and this is also the first episode probably in like over 10 episodes, we actually had a monster creation machine. I'm like, why the heck would you have this absent for so long? And so the plan is simply become Princess Stars. Why? Is there a purpose to this plan? Nope, just do it and try to ruin a girl's heart. Actually, there is a reason why. This is meant to be a distraction in order to stop the creation of a solar engine that will help eliminate the pollution in the atmosphere, which that's interesting. And also, apparently, Queen Hedra really wanted to see Tokyo engulfed in fumes, which that is terrible because no one can breathe in fumes. Can she breathe in fumes? Don't know. But I like the whole thing that they're protecting these particular people, which is quite nice. Not the first time Denziman has this, and probably will be the last time we have in Super Sentai, or we have the Rangers protecting like some important guest star character, which is fine. The guy's a scientist, and we have Denza Yellow actually work with him, which is quite interesting because the guy's a scientist. And eventually, by the end of the episode, despite the fact all the colleagues were injured, he's able to complete the project, no problem. He completed the plans, like no issue at all. And he says he'll be making a test model really soon by the end of the episode. And of course, the monster of the episode is just spending time trying to seduce a little girl. And eventually, he's taken out like you think that he grows giant stuff, but nope, that's not him. After he gets sliced up. Turns out he's on the ground. Eventually, he's destroyed and he explodes in like a big puddle, which is quite interesting. Yes. So, in the case of these 4 episodes, I would probably say that the best monster of these 4 is the one with the fish one. Yeah. I mean, I like the design of this monster. It's a really cool looking monster. I mean, I like the fact his flute doubles as a freaking weapon. The baseball one was interesting at best. I mean, his weapon is basically a baseball bat with spikes. And like all the monsters were pretty good. I think probably the weakest one is Gamma, whose regular monster was a frog. Yeah, he's the weakest of the monsters. But then I think, okay, which one had the weakest plot out of all of these? Well, at least some of them basically had a good reason for it. But I would say the most epic in scale was episode 16 because you have the Denza Rangers just trying to prevent an actual massacre happening. Yep. But not much I'll say about these 4 episodes. I mean, the first three are really good. The other one just okay. I like the subplot. I don't like the romance plot in that one because it's like the monster's barely involved in the episode. It's like you focus on something else while it's just a distraction for the actual plot. Yep. So yeah, that's it for Cyclo Review. Stay tuned for next 2 reviews this week. Comic Corners, okay? Next video. Bye.